Welcome to the Wholesaling Inc. podcast, America's #1 podcast for new real estate investors, where we know that finding discounted property is the most proven path to financial freedom. I am your host, Brent Daniels, Mr. TTP, Mr. Talk to People, and I am telling you this: if I can do this business, so can you. So let's get started. I am excited about this podcast conversation because this is one that I think a lot of our listeners and our viewers on the YouTube channel are really going through. And this is that transition, the transition from working a 9-to-5 job to going after your real estate dreams, and what that transition looks like and how to do that effectively so that you can balance both sides, right? Oftentimes we enter into this business with a lot of responsibilities already on our plate, and we can't just shirk those responsibilities for, these goals and these dreams that we have of owning these big rental portfolios or replacing our income and working for ourselves. So there's a fine line, there's a tightrope that we walk to be able to make that transition. And my guest today is in the middle of this transition, and he's doing fantastic. He's from Glen Rock, Pennsylvania. It's Jacob Bopst. Bopst. There we go.
Bopst.
Yeah.
Nice to meet you.
How are you?
How you doing?
Awesome.
Good to see you.
Good to have you on here.
Good to be here.
So you're working 9 to 5.
That's correct.
Right?
Yeah.
And you're finding the time in your schedule to be able to commit to this business.
Very limited, but yeah.
So how do we do this?
Very carefully.
Yeah.
And best you can. So I don't have a lot of time, maybe like 30 minutes to an hour a day, 5 days a week. I try to leave the weekends to my family, and that's all I've been doing, try to grow my business.
Yeah. So how many hours are you committing to your real estate efforts throughout the week?
Throughout the week, it's really looking like total, only 5 hours a week. That's it. That's all I can afford with 2 young kids, 3 and 1.
Yeah.
And a 9-to-5 job that's actually also a sales job where it's very heavy regulated what I do, work in the financial industry.
Mm-hmm.
So they track every phone call I do, and I have to hit sales numbers, and it makes it very hard to kind of goof off or pursue something while you're working 9 to 5. So for me, it's really only like 5 hours a week, and that's 5 days a week.
So what do you do during those 5 hours?
Yeah, that's that. I never used to. It's funny you asked me that. Like, I never used to really count my time.
Yeah.
I was always a good time waster. And when you have kids and when you have responsibilities and you have a life where, you don't have a lot of extra time to just sit around and watch TV.
Yeah.
You have to be really cognizant of where you're spending it. And for me, I chose to do agent outreach.
Sure.
For the limited time I have, I couldn't justify getting on the dialer and cold calling people.
You mean calling the actual property owners, going direct to it. So explain what you mean by, going and speaking with the agents.
Yeah. So 2 methods that I learned about trying to lock up a property. One way is talking to an owner directly.
Mm-hmm.
It seems pretty simple. Hey, do you want to sell your house? Yes, I do. Okay, how much? And try to get a deal that way. And then the other way was that route that I wanted to go is I wanted to try to create and leverage other people's time when you don't have a lot of money and you need to find a really cost-effective way for people to go to work for you and bring you deals because you don't have the time because you're changing a poopy diaper. If you're going to be doing that, then you need somebody else to go to work for you. So for me, I did agent outreach, which is I would just get phone numbers from the internet.
Yep.
Call out to the agents, introduce myself, tell them I'm a real estate investor, and then from there, hopefully they can bring me a deal. And that's how I would spend my 30 minutes to an hour is talking to agents.
So let's break this down. What you said, you get them from the internet. That's a very broad source. Okay.
Yes,
So is there a specific website that you like going to? Is it Realtor.com? Is it Zillow? Is it Redfin? Is it any of those?
Yeah.
And are you cherry picking the agents that you're going after?
Yeah, great question. The answer is no. So if they have a license and they could do business, I want to talk to them.
Awesome.
So and also I don't have a lot of time to like really sort through and try to find out who's really the big players. Like it's just getting the information and just taking action.
Yeah.
Which my whole life I've struggled with. So having that short time frame and doing it is great. But to answer the question, I found a way that, and you could use homes.com, which is kind of a newer one that popped up. I just noticed that recently. But they've got like, they give you like 500 agents' names. You just type in the market. Realtor.com is probably the best one.
Yep.
And then also Zillow. And Zillow's neat because they break down the team leads. And then if you click on the profile, it even branches out into, hey, who's on the team?
Awesome.
So it's kind of cool to break it down that way. So that's where I've been getting the leads. And just one thing that's really cool I think people might get value from is there's a Google extension, an add-on that you can download, and it's called Insta Data Scraper. Yeah, it's Instant Data Scraper, and it looks like, if anyone's familiar with what a Pokemon Pokeball looks like.
Yeah,
that's the icon of the app. So it's just a free extension, and you can download it, and you can literally pull up any market that you want. Click the button, and it'll automatically go through every single page and pull every single realtor's number for free onto an Excel file. And then you can just take that Excel file, put it into your CRM,
awesome, and
then get dialing. And that's what I've been doing.
Dialing, are you just hand dialing them, or are you putting it into an actual dialing system?
Yes,
or a platform?
I am, in a sense, hand dialing one by one.
Yeah.
But how I do it is I utilize a CRM through Jonah Corchin called Simple Send is what I like to use.
Okay.
And that's I first do a text outreach. And this again helps me prioritize my time by putting the names of the agents in an automated text sequence that I already have set up, and then it'll reach out to them. And if they respond back, then I know, hey, that's somebody that, it's a real person. They're still doing business, and they've already responded to me. So then I just hop on the phone, and whenever I have time in between a break or a lunch or in between like helping my wife upstairs, then I call that person immediately, have a 3-minute call, and then add them to my follow-up system to say, hey, do you have any deals off market or anything like that?
What do you text them? What's in the text?
Yep. So the text that I put out, it says, because I pulled the information from Realtor.com.
Yeah.
And at first, it's a little deceptive for the agents because you want to get them to answer you. But what my mind looks like, and I don't know word for word off the top of my head, but it is something along the lines of like, hey, I saw your information on Realtor.com. I'm looking to buy here soon. Can you help me with that?
Awesome.
And that's it. And then they just reply, whatever. Yes, maybe. Don't. One today. This is funny. One today, a guy texted me back. This happened this morning at the airport. He texted me back and he said, no, actually, I hung up my real estate license and I actually went into the fraud and protection agency to try to protect from scammers. And so I'm no longer doing real estate. I'm doing that. And I thought he was dead serious. And so I replied back. I said, hey, good for you, man. I was like, that's awesome. Like, best of luck. And then I sent him a text of my business card. And like, hey, if you ever have any past referrals, send them my way. I'm an investor. And then he texted me back and he said, oh, shoot. It was like, the one time I wanted to be smart with a reply, it's actually somebody that does real estate and not a scammer.
Yeah.
And that cracked me up, man.
Well, I think that he probably thought you were a bot or
exactly.
some sort of
it was hilarious.
Automated messaging service or something. Yeah, that's hilarious. Well, and it's interesting because when people get sassy like that, if you actually like, no, I'm actually real, and you bring that positivity to them, they're like, oh, okay.
Yeah, exactly.
And you never know. Maybe does he still have his license or did he actually hang it up?
No. So I got on the phone with him and he's like, oh, no, actually, no, I'm doing real estate deals. I still buy. So I had him as a cash buyer.
Yeah.
And he was also like, I also kind of do wholesale deals sometimes. Awesome. I work with other wholesalers. And I made a really cool connection and it was great.
That's awesome.
So you never know.
So you always text.
Yeah.
You have 5 hours a week. Are you texting at specific times in your schedule? Because when you text, you want to be able to respond quickly.
Exactly.
You don't want it to be like, hey, I'm going to send text out at 8 a.m. and then when I have a break at 4 p.m., respond to them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. So I have it set up that it's only Monday through Friday,
Yep.
the days that I work.
Okay.
And a text goes out every. So I have it set. All I can manage right now, all I can afford to do is do 10 outreaches a day. That's all I can afford to get back to people.
10 texts.
10 texts, 10 people. 10 texts out, like initial outreaches per day. And then they're in a follow-up sequence that lasts a couple days, maybe 7 days of just like, hey, did you get this? Or like, and I have it set up, I customized it so when the texts go out the second time, it's not the exact same time. That's an important tip for people doing that. So it's not just like, it's definitely a bot. He's texting me every time at 10 a.m. Like, that's sketchy. Like, if you got that text, you'd be like, yeah, that's a bot.
Sure.
So I set it up and spread it out. But 10 outreaches a day is what I do, and it's every day at 10 a.m., Monday through Friday, and then that gives the whole day for somebody to respond, and then hopefully I try to get back to everybody I can.
And at what point do you have this, you mentioned 3-minute conversation with the agents, and what do you say in those conversations?
Yeah, absolutely. So it goes, and I want to try to fit, my strategy is I want to try to fit in everything that I can to make sure that they send me quality leads, because again, time is a big deal to me.
Sure.
So I try to I really squeeze in everything I'm looking for. So the conversation goes something like this, and shout out to Jonah Corchin again for I stole a lot of his stuff. So shout out to him there. Look him up if you're interested in this stuff. Yeah. But he told me one line of it, but I put my own spin on it, what I like. So it goes like this. You want to take a second, just pretend, ring, like
Hello?
I call you. Hey, Brent, this is Jacob. You just sent me a text back. I thought I'd give you a quick call.
Yeah, what's going on?
Yeah, so I saw your information on Realtor.com, and I'm desperately trying to buy something here. I'm actually a real estate investor in Maryland and in PA, and I'm just, the inventory is so bad right now. There's nothing out there. And so I'm just trying to meet new people, build new relationships, and I'd love for you to keep me in mind as a resource, as a cash buyer. And just a little bit about me, okay? A little bit about me. My company is Modern Style Home Buyers. I do fix and flips, buy and holds, wholesale, Airbnbs. I do a little bit of everything, but how I've built my business so far is just solving sellers' problems. And honestly, it's what I love about what I do. So if you're ever in a situation where your seller is maybe 3 days to pre-foreclosure, it's an inherited probate situation, or maybe just, hoarder situation, or one of those nasty ones that you want to take your shoes off after you've been in it and burn them, and take a hot shower, then I'd love to be a tool in your tool belt and solve that problem for you and earn your commission. I was wondering if you had anything like that right now.
Yeah, I don't have anything right now, but I run across those from time to time. So you're talking you want to do fix and flip type properties. You want these older, you need renovation or updating?
Yeah, thanks for asking that. And really, for me, I really just focus on the seller. Why am I a good solution? Because otherwise you could just list it. Yeah. But why would I be a good solution as a cash buyer for the seller? So just keep me in mind for those ones. And my team's constantly looking on the MLS for property. So I'm really trying to find off-market stuff right now. So if you do come across one that's off-market in any of that situation, please keep me in mind. What I'll do, I'll send you a quick text with my name, my email, my website, and you can give me an email back. If you, you can text me your email. And if you text me your email, I can send you one email, again, just going over what I'm looking for in my company. And I'd love to do business with you, and let's close a deal.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah, great talking to you.
Yeah, you too.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's just like
awesome.
That's the whole call.
Yeah, sure. I like it, to pick a few of my favorite parts of that conversation or that role play. Yeah. My team is already looking on the MLS. Yep. We're really good at that. So I'm really looking for the stuff that's not, because most agents, what they'll do is they'll get excited. They just talked to a prospect, and they want to sell them something now, but they don't have something. Yeah. So they're going to go in the MLS. They're going to find the ugliest properties that are sitting for a while and send them to you. Right. Right. And it's like, okay, but I could see these on Zillow. I could see these on Redfin. I can see these on Realtor.com. I already see these properties.
Exactly.
I don't need these properties. I could already make offers there. I want the ones that nobody else knows about. That's awesome. I love that. I love that. And also, I love that you're sending all the information. You're giving them all the information because that allows you, especially if you do it through text message, when you're sending all that text, don't just email them your stuff or whatever. Text message them so it's in their kind of like the stream of conversation that you have with them, and then they see your information. They're like, because when you follow up in a week or two, or whatever,
like, who the heck is this guy? Yeah, and it's what I did. A pro tip for people again, not looking to spend a lot of money. I just went on to Canva, made a digital business card.
Love it,
and it's got my face on it. It's got my company, logo, and my name, and then it looks all professional. And when people see that, like, oh, this guy's legit.
Well, listen, there's 3 ways to get deals, right? There's only 3 main ways, and that is marketing, which you are putting out. You're spending money to be able to have people reach out to you to initiate that conversation. There's prospecting, where you're going out and initiating those conversations, whether it's with agent outreach or if it's just direct to seller. And then there's referrals. And what essentially you're doing here is, one, you're prospecting to build up your referral database. Correct. And I've said this on the show a lot, on this podcast. You get 30 people, 30 real estate agents, investors, wholesalers, family, friends, people that know, like, and trust you to send you just one deal a year. And this, in my experience, it takes about 3 to 4 years to build up this like roster of 30 incredible people that are going to send you a deal a year. But you spend the time over the next 36, 48 months, you essentially are set. Because the fact is, I mean, in your market, what's the median home sale price?
Like $350.
$350.
Yeah.
So you're probably in that $20,000 average deal range. That's $600,000 if you just find 30 people to send you one deal a year.
Yep.
Absolutely incredible.
And what I love about the agent outreach part is it's not you find a fish in the river, you kill it. You got to find another fish.
Yeah.
It's done.
Like what I do.
Yeah, what you do.
Yeah.
No. But there's a lot of benefits to what you do, right? Yeah. But what I like about the agent outreach part for me is that agent could bring me more than one deal.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I have found, I mean, I've been licensed since 2004, and I've worked with a lot of real estate agents, and I know the way that real estate agents build their businesses. Yeah. They will specialize in certain niches, and certain niches, some of those niches are really rougher areas or rundown properties that have potential. And they just, on the flip side, the advantage for the agent is they only need like 10 or 15 clients to bring deals to make their goals, their dreams come true, put food on their table. Exactly. So they really like having guys like you and the incredible Rhino Tribe members that are going after agent outreach. They want you on their roster, vice versa. Yeah. Yeah.
And you brought up the Rhino Tribe. Right now, I want to tell you, I am so grateful to have you as a mentor and being a part of the mentorship, taking the leap. Normally, I would never pay to be a part of something ever. Yeah. That's just me. I'm kind of like that nickel and dime kind of person. Sure. But you have brought so much tremendous value into my life, and you don't even know it just because this is just what you do. Yeah. But even with doing stuff like this, like, you're impacting people that, like, I just don't know if you know it or not. You're impacting people that you will never meet. And I think that's incredible. And you've impacted my life, and I know it's gonna bring my family in a better and way more just unbelievable trajectory that I never would have been able to imagine. So, well,
you do all the hard work. Let's be honest. I'll give you the path, but listen, all the people that listen and watch, you do the hard work, and that's taking the massive imperfect action, which leads me back to something that you mentioned before, saying that you struggle with taking action.
Big time.
Why?
Big time. I have always put off stuff, not wanting to take action. I have had such a big mindset shift for me over really over the past like maybe year.
Mm-hmm.
And for people who are struggling to take action and be productive, because that was me. That was the guy like, hey, I'd rather, watch Netflix, or I'd rather just play video games with my friends. I'd rather, why would I do that? Like, I don't need to do any of that stuff. Well, number one is you need to eat. And when you have a family, number two, you need to take care of your family. And that's usually everybody's given why.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, what really like made the shift of not taking action to taking action was honestly focus.
Yep.
Was focus. It's funny, my wife and I were talking, and I was driving around. This started, like I said, about a year ago, I started seeing a bunch of red-tailed hawks. And now I'm not like a really spiritual hooey-dooey type guy at all, but I just would see red-tailed hawks everywhere. And it was to the point where it was weird.
Yeah.
Like one was like sitting on a branch, like looking at me. I'm like, honey, Google what does red-tailed hawks mean? And she did, and she was like, it means that you should be focusing.
Yeah.
And I was like, And then that's when I really like made a shift and started focusing on what's important to me.
Yeah.
And when you focus on something, you take action.
Yeah.
You've got to cut out, and focus means cutting off everything.
I recently watched this interview by a guy named Ryan Dice, and I've mentioned it in our support calls over the last couple of weeks. And in that, he said, high performers don't do anything until they have to, and when they have to, they will do anything. And I always thought that like really hit, because there's sometimes where I have to get really mad. I have to get really angry.
Yeah.
Not at the world, but like at my own position in it, or I have to like almost like lose everything and be at rock bottom to really like start that fight. And that was my story. I had lost everything in the crash. I built everything up in the momentum of a really great market. So I thought I was really smart. I didn't think that I needed a lot of advice from the older generation because, we've got all this technology now. The MLS isn't a phone book anymore.
Right.
It's online. Like all of these things that I was very cocky about, and I had to lose everything. And then I was like, okay, I've lost everything. What are my options? I got to go out and I got to go door knock because I was terrified. I wouldn't door. You know how kids, like I remember we would have to raise funds for a baseball team, and they had like chocolate bars, or for the Boy Scouts, and we had like chocolate bars that you would have to go and sell, and you're supposed to like go out to the neighborhoods and see if your neighbors wanted to basically donate.
Hustlers, those Girl Scouts. Girl Scouts are freaking hustlers.
I mean, if I was in Girl Scouts, I would have been terrified. You know what I mean? Like, maybe if my mom and dad were there and we have a table and they're kind of there and I could, be like, but there was no way I was going to go and door knock and do any of that stuff growing up. And then even getting older, I just wouldn't do it. It was like there was a block to like really talking to strangers. I didn't like ordering food at restaurants, like that type of thing. It wasn't a natural thing. So once I realized that, okay, totally broke, I owe a bunch of people money, I need to go out and find a way to provide value because that's how income is made. And I understood that by listening to Earl Nightingale over and over and over again. The Strangest Secret, which is a phenomenal YouTube video to listen to. It's an old recording. Anyway, I knew that if I went out and I knocked on the right door and I had the one conversation with somebody that wanted to sell their property, or maybe they were moving out, or maybe the tenants were moving out, or something would happen. And it did. My theory was right. If I went out and had conversations and made offers, I could pull myself out of any situation. And so that's where Talk to People came from. That's why, right there, I've got the neon big.
It's awesome, by the way.
Big sign that says Conversations and Offers. Because if you really just focus on that in real estate, you win. But I had to be in a position to where fear, anger at myself, really propelled me to do that. It wasn't, oh, I'm going to go and do these amazing things. You know, it's either you go away from pain or towards pleasure. I think away from pain is more powerful in my experience.
So I'm the exact same way. I'm very fear motivated.
Yeah.
Me personally, and I'm so glad you shared the story about how you lost everything, and that, just so you know, that's the reason why I was drawn to you.
Sure.
And what you preach is because you have lost it. So I noticed, like, in your message, you're a lot more conservative than most people.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, be careful. You're realistic, and that rings true to me, because I too have probably not as big as you, but I've had a big loss as well. 2-3 years ago, I got like $175,000 that I lost because I wanted to try something new and I lost it in trying crypto.
Sure.
I had no reason, no place. Why my redneck, but I don't know why I decided to try it.
Yeah.
And I lost $175,000.
Sure.
And that was what, it set me back on the course of, like, look, stop trying to do new things. Shiny object syndrome, big time. We're talking about focus, big time.
Yep.
Try everything from affiliate marketing to having websites to doing MLMs, selling milkshakes.
Yeah.
Anything I could do, and you have to have focus on one thing. And when people talk to me about, like, new ideas about things, I just shut it off immediately. I'm like, no, I'm gonna stick to this. Yeah. And when people talk about doing different strategies in real estate investing, because like just real estate itself, you say real estate, there's like, I don't know, 1,000 different avenues you could go with that. And I think the smartest thing anyone could do is just find one that works with you. Yep. Don't do anything else.
Yeah.
Don't think about, oh, but it'd be nice. Look, we could get some extra income coming in from this. No, it's stupid.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, don't do it. Just focus on the one thing, stick with it, and keep going.
I totally agree. And in real estate, it's really 3 buckets.
Yeah.
Fix and flip, buy and hold, assign, wholesale. That's it. You know what I mean? Yep. So, and I always think, in my experience, and especially in this market, and this is something that my mentor, Derek Jarr, just mentioned on my live show on Wednesday. He said, in this market, you want to focus on getting a fee income, as opposed to flip income, as opposed to, really buying rental properties, just because of, unless you're going for long term, which you should be anyway for rentals. I think he was just basically the difference between fix and flip and wholesale. And he said, just keep your risk low right now. You never know what's going to happen. There's a little bit of turbulence going on, and if it goes to major turbulence, you want to be in a position where you've got the machine that finds the best deals.
Look,
and that's what wholesaling is.
Look, like I went down the rental path.
Yeah, sure.
I went down the fix and flip path. I tried that, and I currently have 1 single family rental, and I have an 11 unit property. Yeah, and I was doing it all wrong. Sure. And the fee way, I'm glad you said that. That's where I'm gravitating towards now. Yeah, because of the market. Yeah. Well, focus. Red tail hawk, right? Yeah, red tail hawk. I'm gonna remember that. That's super embarrassing. You should get a tattoo. I'm not gonna get a tattoo of a red hawk. All right, let's break down a deal. Yes. All right. Okay. We've gotten into the nitty gritty. Yeah. We've gotten into the struggle of taking action. Is just basically there's a lot of opportunities. Yeah. And you need to focus. And if you focus, it's gonna that's when you do the same thing over and over and over and over. Consistency. And when you can embrace repetitious boredom as an entrepreneur, that's like you're going next level. We start out, we got a lot of faith that we can do this business, and then we do a deal and we cross the bridge to it being a fact, and that's a great place because now we know that we can do it and that builds some confidence. But then we have to stay in that spot and just get into the boring work where every single day we're doing the same thing, right? When you have that squirrel, that, like it's tough. The best companies and the best real estate professionals that I know embrace repetitious boredom. They do. That's it. So let's break down a deal. Let's do it.
All right.
Let's do it. Okay. So I want to talk about one that I think your listeners will get a lot of value out of.
Mm-hmm.
It was kind of a nightmare situation for me when I was first getting into things. I was working on a fix and flip when I joined Wholesaling Inc. as a mentorship.
Yeah.
And that was in November of 2023. So I started to go seriously into it January. And relatively quickly, I through agent outreach, I came across a realtor who said, yeah, my daughter's spouse's mom, she's in an interesting situation. It was a divorce situation years back where she's in a really giant house.
Mm-hmm.
She wasn't maintaining it. It was just her and her cat, and she had a lot of stuff in it. It was like a hoarder situation too. The roof was leaking, had like mold all the way down to the basement, just in one spot. But it was a beautiful house, and it was like 5-bedroom, 3,000 square foot in a really, really nice location. And I was like, yeah, I'm definitely interested in it. And I went out to the property. I met with the property owner and the realtor.
Mm-hmm.
And the situation that she was going through where the house was paid for. But the seller was not paying the property taxes and couldn't afford it. It already went through a tax sale where another outside investor had the property,
Mm-hmm.
Had the tax sale lien.
Yeah.
And when you have the lien in the county that I was working in, Carroll County, it takes 7 months before the investor who has the tax lien to start the foreclosure process. And we're at month like 9. So when I came in and talked to the seller, I was like, look, I don't know what's going on right now, like in the process of this house,
Mm-hmm.
the tax lien deal, but I can almost guarantee you this investor right now
Mm-hmm.
has already started the foreclosure process.
Yeah.
And you're like 2 months or so in. Like it's happening. So it's imminent. It's going to happen. I don't know when. I tried to figure out how to find that out. Nobody knows how long a foreclosure process could take in total. It could be quick. It could be a year.
Mm-hmm.
It could be a month. I had no idea. And so I was up front, and this is on the tail end of talking about this deal. This part right here I'm about to say will make sense. But I made sure, and how I always said I was going to do this business is with integrity.
Yeah, sure.
I was going to do it where I was upfront about everything. I went over the options with her, and I said, look, you could just fix this place up and list it, and you get a lot more money than what I'm going to offer you. Like, that's an option you could do.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you want what you always preach, if you want a simple, easy solution, you don't have to fix anything. You can leave all this stuff in the property, all that there. I'm happy to buy it. I could probably do around this range.
Mm-hmm.
And we can get it done for you. And you can get something smaller. You can get the cash out of it, move on, get a place that actually fits for you and your cat.
Mm-hmm.
And I presented that to her, went back, made an offer, and she accepted. And she accepted the offer. And I was on cloud 9 because it was a really big spread. And it was a really great deal.
Yeah.
And I was super grateful. And then I didn't have a cash buyer's list. But from the beginning, because I knew it was big, I was going to buy it.
Right.
I was going to
remember.
buy it.
Yep.
And then I was going to sell it, very quickly,
Mm-hmm.
immediately, if possible.
Yeah, sure.
And we went through title, we got through getting everything done. I found another end buyer, someone else that after I close on it, I could sell it to them and they'd want to take it. But during one of my calls on trying to find somebody else that after I bought it would want to buy it, I called and they answered, and I told them, they'd say, hey, I got this property here. It's in this area. And they're like, oh, you mean Dawn's house? And I was like, yeah, Dawn's house. Yeah, I didn't know, I'm going to be purchasing it, and I'm kind of looking at all my options here. I don't know what I'm going to do with it yet, but I was just wondering if you were interested in it after I buy it, or, I was new. I didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
And they said, oh, no, I'm not interested, but thanks. And then I never thought anything of it. And then we're getting really close to closing now. And I got everything lined up. Everything's going to go through. I did everything on my part about making sure the tax liens we negotiated that would get paid at closing. All that was set up, ready to be paid, done, get it done. And I was really happy because I thought I was going to be helping out. I like making win-win solutions for everybody. Like I don't believe in like a I win, you lose. But there's one caveat to that, and that's if something I don't think is right, then I'll fight.
Yeah.
If somebody does something shady and somebody goes against their word or something, that's when I'll fight.
Mm-hmm.
And I won't back down.
Yeah.
But any other time I'm all about win-win solutions. This specific scenario, the seller decided, hey, I'm not going to back out. And I was like, I'm not going to sell the property to you. Out of nowhere. And I was like, what? And I went through so much. I was so scared.
We talked a lot.
Oh, we did. We talked a lot and thank you again for your support. Because I don't know how I'd be sleeping at night if it wasn't for you. So thank you.
Yeah.
Because it's super scary. And I was like, what do you mean? Like we were good. Turns out the person that I called to see if they would want the deal actually was twofold. One, the spouse was an attorney.
Mm-hmm.
And second, they were real estate investors, and third, they were friends with the seller.
Mm-hmm.
And beforehand, the seller already said she didn't want to sell with them, but the agent told me that, hey, these people, they can pay a lot more, and they're trying to get out of the contract. And I'm like, that's not right. I was like, that's not right. Like we had an agreement.
Yeah.
You shook my hand.
Yeah.
And if you shake someone's hand and say a price, this is what I'm going to do.
They signed an agreement.
And an agreement. That's what an agreement's there for, right?
And that's a binding agreement.
Exactly, legally. Yeah. And so I was scared to death because I was like, what in the world can they do that? I was like, I don't think they can do that.
Right.
And then talking with you and talking with an attorney, I realized that, no, I did nothing wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I did everything by the book,
mm-hmm.
and I was going to fight.
Yeah.
To protect my interest in the property.
Sure.
And so 6 months later, here we are now, and we finally come to an agreement. Because I don't want to like, because I'm like, hey, are you going to stay in the property? Like, you want to sell. It's just you're trying to sell somebody else for more money, even though you agreed to me. So it's not okay.
Mm-hmm.
And so if like they
here's the thing, Jacob, and I've seen this so many times.
Yeah.
Somebody goes in and they pour honey into the ear of these property owners because they find out that you get a great deal.
Yeah.
Whether it be another cash buyer, another investor, somebody that they know, a real estate agent, whatever. After they've already signed the agreement.
Yeah.
And they go, oh, I can get you more money. Cancel that and I'll get you more money. But in their contract, they have an inspection period. And in that inspection period, they find other things that are wrong with the property. And then all of a sudden, they start beating them up on price.
Exactly.
And they end up at the same price or lower than what you're giving them. Exactly. You know what I mean? This happens all the time. This happens all the time. This is literally some investor's business model. So it's like, well, wait a second. Should you have just canceled the deal so that these other parties can go and have the opportunity to buy it? No. They agreed with you. These other parties are encouraging them to breach a contract, which go talk to an attorney about that.
Right.
And so it's unethical. When two parties are agreed in writing to buy and sell a property, you try to weasel your way in there. We should be strong on this. We should defend our position, in my opinion.
Yeah, and it would have. I'm telling you right now, it would have went differently if it was just like I just decided I don't want to sell, and there was
100%.
And my solution didn't make sense for the seller.
Yep.
But it made sense, and they were going to do it anyways, and we agreed. And so you're going to go back on that. So that's why I fought. And
awesome.
But it was scary as heck.
Sure.
Scary as all get out. 6 months of a lot of sleepless nights and, talking with my wife and trying to keep but one phrase that got me through it, and hopefully somebody can get value out of this because it really helped me, was just like, things will always work out as they should.
Yeah.
I just kept telling myself that. When I was laying in bed at night, I was worried about it. and I felt like my integrity was in check, and somebody was coming after me, saying things that weren't true about me. It just comes down to like, hey, you know what? Things will work out as they should.
Yep.
I'm going to do everything in my power to make it work, but things will always work out. Things always are going to work out for me. And I kept saying that, and it really did help me get out of like the scarcity mindset to like to more of a abundance and faith.
That and hire a good attorney.
That and make sure you get good recommendations for an attorney. 100%.
So
yes.
How did it settle out?
So how it played out, because in the end, like I don't want to like, if this woman is gonna say, like, I'm not gonna like force her out of her home, but she was going to sell. Yep. So we came to an agreement. We had to go to mediation through the because I went through an agent. I used the agent, so it's through a brokerage too. Another thing that showed that like it was legit, like it wasn't like some made up paperwork.
Right.
Like it was through a brokerage. But in mediation, we decided, hey, why don't you just pay me off for my interest here? Like what would be a good number? And in the end, we came to an agreement that the seller would pay me $40,000 to release and cancel the contract, and I agreed. And that's not a wholesale deal by any means, but because of getting out there and putting in the effort and having that focus, I was able to generate income for my family.
Well, that was probably if you're looking.
I learned a lot.
If you were to flip that property, you would have made $150,000, $200,000. I mean, you would have made a tremendous amount.
I would have did well.
Getting that property all looking clean. I mean, you wanted to sell it really fast, so maybe even just wholetailing it or whatever else. Yeah. But you know what? For 40's nice. Here we go. Ring this victory bell. You got to do it harder than that. There we go.
Give it one.
Well, there you go. Yeah, interesting story. I mean, all of the transactions. It would be nice if all the transactions were just super smooth. Everything went really easy.
Yeah.
But I've done thousands of them, and very rarely is everything very smooth, whether it's a traditional deal or not. Probably the smoothest deals that I've seen is when we've taken properties. I've done about 100 flips. We had a really high level of pride in the craftsmanship and the people that we hired, so we didn't have to deal with too many repairs after we accepted an offer. That's probably the smoothest. But when you have a lot of different buyers and sellers, collaborating to get this deal done, there's going to be bumps in the road, and so
this was a good learning experience. Yeah. I'll say that. I'll say that.
Awesome. Well. Yeah. How can people get a hold of you? How can people connect with you?
Yeah,
I mean, you've just got such a positivity to you, and you're just an incredible shining light in the Rhino tribe and in the Facebook group and in the support calls and everything there. So people really should connect with Jacob. How can people connect?
Yeah, the best way is through @Jacob Bopst on Instagram. You can follow up with me there. Or you can follow me at Jacob Bopst through YouTube. I try to post some stuff and mindset and real estate investing and that kind of stuff.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you for being on here. Thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for being so positive and optimistic and building your confidence. And I see your confidence building. Yeah. From last November to now, going through this transaction, building your pipeline up, being really focused. It's a good look on you.
Thank you. It feels good. It feels good. Appreciate you.
Awesome. And that's it for our show, guys. Remember, when you are starting out in your real estate journey, 4 main factors to look at, okay? Number 1, which we talked about today, is schedule. Are you going part-time or are you going full-time? Number 2 is, what is your market? Are you in a big market or are you in a small market? Number 3 is, what is your experience level? Do you have a lot of experience with communicating with people about their properties, right? About real estate. And then 4 is, what's your budget? Do you have a big budget or do you have a small budget? All those really factor into the right blueprint for you to go out and generate really great opportunities. If you want some help with that, I encourage you to go to wholesalinginc.com, click the Apply Now button, and have the best conversation of your year. I guarantee it. It's going going to blow your face off. Go to wholesalinginc.com and apply today. And that is it for our show. I am Brent Daniels, closing out as I always do, encouraging you to go out there and talk to people. Till next time. Love you guys. See ya.